In 1956, at just 13 years old, Bobby Fischer played a game that shocked the world. Nobody knew his name before this game, but that was about to change forever. Bobby Fischer with the black pieces was up against a strong master, Donald Byrne, who was completely unaware he's part of a game that will go down in history. Byrne opens with knight f3, Fischer follows with knight f6, Byrne goes for the English opening, while Fischer plays the King's Indian defense setup, bishop f4, and now instead of a passive d6, Fischer strikes the center with d5, queen h3, and Fischer takes on c4. This is a great move because by forcing white's queen on the c4 square, it prevents white's light-squared bishop from developing on c4. Pawn to c6 saves the pawn from being captured, but also blocks white's knight from coming forward. e4 grabs the center, and now knight to d7, preparing for knight b6. White activates the rook, and black attacks the queen. Byrne moves his queen out of danger, Fischer pins his knight, and now we have a weird move from Byrne, bishop g5. He moves the same piece twice in the opening, which breaks the fundamental chess rules, but he does this to put some pressure on the e7 pawn. For example, if the e-pawn moves, this knight gets captured, but also if the knight moves, the pawn gets captured. Bishop g5 would have been a good move if he wasn't playing against a genius. Fischer finds the best move and plays knight a4. It might look like Fischer straight up sacrificed his knight for nothing, but if white captures his knight, Fischer can play knight e4. This leads to the following position, where Fischer has a massive advantage. So Byrne of course doesn't capture the knight, instead he moves his queen to a3. They trade knights, and Fischer grabs the e4 pawn. That was a brave move from Fischer, because this allows white to play bishop takes e7, and it looks like white is winning the exchange here. So Fischer moves his queen to b6. Now let's see what would happen if white took the rook. Fischer would take with his bishop. This gives him tempo since white's queen has to move out of the attack. Now knight takes on c3, white can't capture the knight because of this pin. So the best move is to trade queens. White is so lost in this position that the best engine move is to play rook a1. Fischer would easily win in this position. So Byrne doesn't capture the rook, and plays bishop c4 instead. I hope you're still watching because this game is about to get even crazier. Fischer plays knight c3, Byrne doesn't capture the knight because then he loses his bishop to rook e8. So he can't take the knight, and he can't really take the rook either. Because of that he retreats his bishop and attacks Fischer's queen. Fischer first plays this little in-between check, and now you would expect him to move his queen. But Fischer plays bishop e6. Now, white has a few options here besides straight up taking the queen. If Byrne takes the bishop, queen b5 leads to a forced checkmate, as you'll see here. If Byrne takes the knight, Fischer wins the piece right back with queen c5. So Byrne goes for the most appealing move, and captures the seemingly free queen. So Fischer sacrificed his queen. But this isn't a blunder, this is the beginning of a masterpiece that will leave Byrne shocked. Bishop takes c4 check, king g1. Fischer removes the pawn with his knight, and attacks the rook, but first he takes white's bishop on b6. Byrne moves the queen and attacks Fischer's bishop, rook a4 protects the bishop, queen b6, and now Fischer takes the rook. h3 giving some breathing room to the king, rook a2. King h2, knight f2, rook e1, Fischer takes, but Byrne first gives an in-between check, and then recaptures. Fischer plays bishop d5, knight f3, knight e4, queen b8. Byrne is completely aware that Fischer is winning, but he wants the 13-year-old boy to finish his masterpiece, and that's what you're about to see. Fischer is about to deliver one of the most beautiful checkmates. What you're seeing right now, Fischer had already seen in his mind, several moves ago. Watch how this 13-year-old genius finishes this match. Checkmate. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, you should watch this next.